Yes, and then so I'm just trying to test everyone's knowledge. Yes, if you can remember at least a few weeks back where we left off. Anybody?
Nope.
Something about
okay,
the,
but it's all right. It's all right. I mean, but we are at Matthew chapter 5, looking at verses 27 through 32. Yes, ma'am.
I think we're at the
Yeah,
end of
Vicky,
the.
you got the numbers. Yeah.
I think we're at the end of the Beatitudes. I think
And the Beatitudes. So we're
Well,
way
when-
past that.
at the end of them, aren't we?
No, we're way past that.
Oh,
yeah.
we are? Okay.
Yeah, we're in Matthew 5, verse 27 through 32. But I believe we had ended. Yeah, we ended at verse 28. So technically, yeah, verse 29 and following. So let's kind of go ahead and just read the text overall. Then we will kind of break it down to see what it is that Jesus is discussing about here in the context. So can I get somebody to read verse 29 through 32?
But I say unto you that whoever looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that the whole body should be cast into hell. It has been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever shall marry her that is divorced, commits adultery.
Thank you. All right, so what is the whole Sermon on the Mount about? Beatitudes is part of it. That's how Jesus begins it. But what's the whole entire? It begins in Matthew 5, and it goes all the way to the end of chapter 7.
His teaching compared to the old law.
His teaching compared to the old law, and who were the ones responsible for teaching the old law at that time?
Pharisees.
The Pharisees, absolutely. So remember, if you like to at least underline or highlight or box in your Bible, box verse 20 of chapter 5, because that is the key verse of the entire Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is teaching the people how they can have a righteousness that surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees. And so in chapter 5, after explaining that he came to fulfill the law and not to destroy it, he then gives, six examples of the Old Testament that were taught by the scribes and Pharisees. But however, they had added a little bit, I guess, to God's word. And what exactly were they adding to God's word?
Extra burdens.
Extra burdens. Absolutely, yes. Extra burdens. And their traditions of the fathers and the ancient rabbis and so forth. And they also specifically taught with the authority of the rabbis. And so technically, yeah, they share what the Word of God says, but they would use what's called the Talmud, which is the teachings of all the ancient rabbis. And they would say, okay, so this is what the old law says, and this is what Rabbi so-and-so says, Rabbi so-and-so says, all these different scholars, scholarly rabbis, and then they'd say, now let me tell you why this rabbi over here is correct. And then so really their authority is not on God's word, but on who? Human, yes, man's authority, yes, the authority of the rabbis. Because when you look at verse 28, how did Jesus begin this section?
But I say
to you, whoever what? Look. Okay, so why did he have to say that?
Jesus says to watch your heart, for lust in your heart can lead to actual doing.
Absolutely. So again, why did he have to tell them to not even look at a woman? What's the implication? What were people doing?
not to even begin looking, not begin that lust.
Yeah, to not even
so
begin.
You don't commit adultery.
Exactly, so you don't commit adultery. So if Jesus is telling them to not do that, what does that imply? The people were what? Doing it. And then again, you then have to ask the question, well, why were the people doing it?
Because the Pharisees were saying it's okay?
Because the Pharisees were saying it's okay. Yes. Going back, let me go back a couple pages here in my notes. Yes, right here, the Jewish rabbis of old were teaching that you cannot have adultery, but you can look in the sense of lust at her as long as you want. And that is from Rabbi Yoma verse or line 69 and Rabbi Barakat's line 22 in the Talmud. And so that's what they were teaching. And that's why Jesus had to say, don't even look at her with the intent of lusting, because the Pharisees were teaching that it was okay to do that. But Jesus takes things deeper. He takes things deeper to the heart, because that is where it all begins, right? That is where all the issues begin, is in the heart. And so, yes, when you begin to look at a woman lusting with the intent of, looking at her with the intent of lusting in the heart, you're basically have already committed adultery, because you're saying that if I could be able to sleep with that woman right there, I would. That's what the heart says. If I could be able to sleep with that woman or with that man over there, then yes, I would. I commit that adultery. And so Jesus says you need to do a heart check. You need to watch your heart. You need to watch your thoughts. You need to watch your mind, because if you allow those temptations to build nests on your head, what's going to happen? What happens if you give in to temptation? It gives birth to what? Sin, as James says. And then sin leads to what? Death.
Eternal death.
Eternal death. That's right. And so, verse 29, he says, if your right eye causes you to stumble, what does he say to do? Pluck it out. All right, so here Jesus, in a way, figuratively, metaphorically, is saying that you need to examine yourself and see if there's any needed surgery to be done. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off.
I wonder how many men end up being totally blind.
Yep. Well, that was going to be my next question, is Jesus speaking literally here?
Oh, of course not.
No, of course not. I mean, there's many reasons why, and I have a list here, but I want to hear from you first. Chris, go ahead.
There was a man that was in jail in Sherman not too many years ago that plucked his eye out while he was in jail as he was reading, I guess, the scripture.
He killed his babies.
Yeah, he did.
He did what?
He was
killed
in
his
jail
babies.
for killing his children.
He ate some of their organs.
Yeah.
He ate some of their.
You ate some of their organs?
Their hearts.
Their hearts?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what he did.
wow.
Lunatic.
Yeah.
He had some
Mental.
problems for sure.
Oof.
But anyway, he took it literally. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is he
That's
still
not
in
what
jail?
Jesus intended.
Well, now, there is glad you brought that up, because it reminds me of there's a very actually well-known church history scholar back in the 3rd century by the name of Origen, who actually took this literally. And he actually did two things. One, he demasculated himself, if you know what I mean by that. And then also, there's a story in which he shared that when he began to still lust with the eyes, that he stripped himself naked and he ran into a thorn bush. Yes.
Is that why some of the older guys used to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a part of a false teaching of Gnosticism. And Paul deals with that in towards the end of Colossians chapter 2. But however, the reason why Jesus is not saying or to take this literally is for a few reasons. Number one, it would turn the church into a hospital. So imagine an outsider coming in and he or she sees so many armless, eyeless, legless individuals everywhere, and they're probably thinking, what is happening? And what had happened? And they look at the floor and they see
I'm not joining that church.
They see a bunch of blood stains and whatnot. So I think that's, a credible, logical reason in and of itself is that it would turn the church into a complete hospital. And also, I want you to just imagine, preachers today encouraging their brothers and sisters to literally cut off their own hands, feet, legs, eyes, nose, mouth, and etc. Imagine. Do you think any outsider is going to be a part of that church? You think we'll be able to win any souls to Christ with that? I wouldn't think so. But also, if this were applied literally, it still would not keep someone from sinning in the heart. Because guess what? You have what's called photo memory. Even if you pluck out your eyeballs, and yet you have recently in the past have lusted before, well, guess what? You have that photographic memory in your mind, and you can still lust, even if your literal eyeballs are plucked out. And so it's not going to keep one from lusting from the heart or the mind. Thirdly, as already mentioned, self-emasculation is against God's will. That's Colossians chapter 2, verse 23. So God's word will never contradict itself.
Colossians 2:23.
Yes, sir. Colossians chapter 2, verse 23. So if it's not to be taken literally, and rather to be taken figuratively and metaphorically, now let me ask you this. What is the point that Jesus is trying to make here?
And adulteress, whatever. In the heart is not the physical, joining one body to another, that it's in the heart.
Yes, it's in the heart. And so by Jesus emphasizing that if your right eye or your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. And he's not talking literally, but he's talking figuratively, metaphorically here. What is the point he's trying to make?
Self-control.
Self-control.
Self-examination.
He's
Self-examination.
talking about the Christian body.
The Christian what?
Body.
Oh, the Christian body?
Yeah, like for example, like we are the temple of Christ.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, my eye see that woman.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm doing, I'm God body.
That's right. Yeah, you're defiling the temple.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And my eye see that woman. What happened? I'm already a daughter.
Yes.
And I'm already doing God bad stuff.
That's right. That's right. And we spoke about that a few weeks ago, if you can recall, that not only are we defiling our temple, which belongs to God, our body, which belongs to God, but every person in the world is created in the image of God. And so when we lust after that person, guess what we're doing to that image? We're tarnishing God's image right there. We're using it for our selfish reasons, our selfish ways, our own lustful temptations. And so, again, looking at the overall point of the Sermon on the Mount, whose righteousness are we to be gaining? Whose righteousness do we want to have? God's righteousness. And then so Jesus is emphasizing the point of how badly do you want to have God's righteousness? Do you have the earnestness in pursuing God's righteousness? Do you have the motive to pursue true righteousness? If you do, then it is better to lose the dearest thing in life than to lose one's soul. And if that dearest thing is your right eye, your right arm, then so be it. Our hands and eyes are very important, but they are more important. Are they more important than your souls? They shouldn't be. Are you willing to keep those temporal body parts than to lose your entire soul in hell? What causes you to have impure thoughts? Now, this is where self-examination comes in. You don't have to answer this out loud. You can probably write it down on your notes for your own personal private study. What causes you to have impure thoughts? It may be certain books, magazines, or other publications. It could be certain things on social media. It could be this little device right here. How easy it is to access it. What are you willing to do in order to cut those things off? Some cases, people get rid of this phone completely. And they go back to a flip phone. That's good. Others have what's called Covenant Eyes. It's a great program to have. What it does is that it links your phone to someone that you trust, and that way, if your phone receives any notification of a website that you are not allowed to be on, it notifies the other person. So you're held accountable right there. So you have somebody to hold you accountable. And so what measures are we willing to take in order to remove these impure thoughts? I mean, is this more important than your soul? It shouldn't be. But if you really want to have God's righteousness, and if you really don't want your soul to be lost in the eternal fires of hell, then you'd go to such measures as to cut it off completely. All right. Any other thoughts, closing, at least other remarks or closing thoughts on this section of verse 27 through 30 before we move into
Does this
31
leave
and 32?
anybody out?
No, it does not.
It says a man.
If a man, yeah.
If a man looks on a woman,
Mm-hmm.
what if a woman looks on a man?
Same still applies.
Talking about the same
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah,
Either
But-
one.
Some people might use that.
that's true.
Well, and I think it needs to be made
Yeah.
a point.
I think it does need to be
Because-
made a point. Go ahead.
Commercials show. How about the cologne Axe or something?
Axe body spray.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
those women
Yeah.
go crazy
Mm-hmm.
over the male.
It's true.
So
In the commercial.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
commercial.
In the,
Yeah.
in the TV.
Yep.
Now we're live.
In the commercial, yeah.
'Cause I've
I
been,
can testify that my wife does not like the Axe body spray
Yeah.
scents at all. Yeah.
Not in real
She
life.
can't stand it. Yeah. No.
Well, I've been
my wife
using-
likes my polo cologne. Yeah.
I've been
Yeah, but-
using an axe all my life, and nobody's gone crazy over me yet.
Yeah. Well, you're married. Nobody needs to be going crazy.
I know.
over you. Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
called Dark Temptation.
Yeah.
Dark temptations. Uh-oh.
Yes.
But you know, people used to say all the time, well, you can look all you want, but you can't touch. But that's not
Yeah.
true.
No, it's not true at all. It's not true at all. And sadly, it's gotten so many people in trouble. I mean, any places that you go to, I mean, you got even just commercials. I mean, Axe body sprays, or even if it's like a lawnmower commercial. I mean, it's a lawnmower John Deere commercial, but guess who decides to be riding on that lawnmower?
Daisy
Yeah,
Dukes.
some woman in Daisy Dukes, or even just a two-piece bikini.
Even
Yes.
men riding lawnmowers, not just women.
What's that?
Even men, not just women.
I'm talking about the commercials, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may also see a man with a muscle shirt.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
Or with no shirt, so it's not
Yes.
just women.
Oh, I know. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. But I mean, he's making the point over here about like how Jesus is talking about a man, but yet it's the same for a woman. A woman lusting after a man in a muscle t-shirts and etc. But so the point of what we're trying to make here is that if you truly want God's righteousness, then how far are you willing to go to get rid of those things that's going to cause you those impure thoughts?
There's another one, a car wash show.
Car wash show?
Yeah. If you
A
go-
car wash show, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They have men's
And-
car
and-
wash. They got women's car wash.
If your car is dirty, you got to go wash it.
Yeah. Now, here's another point I want to make, and this sometimes is not talked about as often, or maybe just overlooked, but making the point of how far are you willing to go to, I guess, remove those impure thoughts. Are you willing to perhaps maybe go to the person that is probably dressed inappropriately and say, hey, I mean, I don't think that's a good outfit for you to wear because it's causing men to stare quite a bit, or it's causing women to stare quite a bit. Are you going to be willing to go to that person?
I don't think that's gonna be effective.
You don't think it's going to be
I
effective?
don't think it's gonna end well.
Okay, why?
I don't think the person's gonna receive it well.
Because I think the
That's a
you
big-
have to have self-control.
You have to have
That's
self-control.
Regardless, because that's in the world
That's a big
everywhere.
criticism too.
You go to Walmart and you'll see things you've never seen.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing they say, the first thing that they might say, if you bring that up to them, well, you better quit looking.
Mm.
Yeah, they will not
Mhm.
take it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
Don't look if what?
you don't like it.
Yeah, don't look if you don't like it. Yeah.
I got one. For example, if you go with your family, you got kids, right?
Mhm.
and you go someplace, and something happened, and this woman's in a bikini, and what the kids gonna say? Mommy, why she got bikini and stuff? And daddy is looking, and in the mom.
Very vivid in this example.
The mom is not
We
right.
got it. We got
Yeah,
it.
we got
Yeah,
it.
and that is a true
Yeah.
statement.
And what happened?
No,
You are distracted the kids
Mhm.
for the salvation of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Why are you teaching the kids?
Mhm.
By example.
Yeah.
Because we gone, they could be here
Mhm.
for a long day,
Yeah.
and they could be in church, and nobody could teach them.
Mhm.
Why you give a good example to them?
That's the
The
part of the
kids are the-
parents. That's the
Yeah,
part of the
that
parents.
is
I
a
mean,
part of
it
the
is.
parents.
Yeah.
That's something they're gonna have to talk
Yeah.
about.
Oh yeah. And of course, and if they
It's
catch
awful.
daddy looking, then oh yeah, he's in big trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna have to do some
And it's hard for
self-evaluation.
the kids because the kids are the life of God.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Move it up. Blah, excuse me. Move along here. Okay. So, but good thoughts. I just wanted to bring that up and kind of see what your insights would be in case of a situation like that. If you were to approach somebody who's dressed inappropriately, and if you think it'd be effective or not. All right. But number 2 in this section, verses 31 and 32. In verses 27 through 31, 27 through 30, Jesus talks about protecting your heart. Protecting your heart. And now Jesus here is going to be talking about protecting your home. All right? First one's protecting heart. This section, verse 31, 32, he says you need to protect your home. Verse 27 through 30, he says protect your mind. Verse 31 and 32, he says protect your marriage. And so let's read this text again. It was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. So after Jesus here discussed about mental adultery, he turned in verses 31 and 32 to what we might call legalized or physical adultery. Some think these verses are a separate contrast, but they continue Jesus' teachings on adultery, and we will consider them now. And so he says, what had been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. Now, this is not an exact quotation of the Old Testament, but Jesus is making reference to that in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1 through 4 says, when a man takes a wife and marries her, if then she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some indecency in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out of his house, and she departs out of his house, and if she goes and becomes another man's wife, and the latter man hates her and writes her certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out of the house, or if the latter man dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband, who sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord. And you shall not bring sin upon the land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance. Now, divorce was allowed in Jewish circles and involved giving the woman a legal certificate of divorce. Now, this certificate was called a get in Hebrew. A get. Spelled G-E-T.
Get rid of.
Yeah, simply get rid of. The man puts this get, or the certificate, in the woman's hand so that when she strikes up a conversation with another man, she would have to hand him the certificate. And so the document protected her from being an adulteress if she were to get remarried. And Jesus answers this go right ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's kind of off topic in a way, but not really.
Okay.
So back to adultery and divorce and stuff. So you get divorced when you do adultery, right? Or sexual immorality. Yes, that.
Okay.
You can get divorced, right?
Sexual immorality. That's the only reason
Or
for.
being abused, or it's just not right.
Only-
Visiting you, or
Good question. Very good question.
You can't get divorced.
What was the question?
about like if you're in a domestic violent relationship
Right.
or marriage, you're getting abused. And I believe I have my notes here on that. Let me.
You always-
Well,
Okay.
1 Corinthians.
All right, I know I'm going to 1 Corinthians 7. Yeah, don't steal my thunder.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, yes, I'm going there. Yeah, I'm just trying to find my notes here on this section. Yes. Okay, so good question about that. And let's turn over to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Now, if a woman has to go into survival mode in the sense of getting out of a physical abusive marriage, that is often a question that is asked quite a bit, believe it or not.
She can just kill him.
No.
She would like to, but that's
That's self-defense.
not allowed.
Yeah. Okay. Now, before we get into 1 Corinthians 7, verse 10 and 11, I first want everybody to remember that Jesus in Matthew 5, verse 31 and 32, is talking about divorce and remarriage. Okay? So, the only scriptural authority that a woman or a man has for divorce and, you cannot forget that word and in the middle, and remarriage is adultery, physical adultery. So, in the sense of a woman divorcing, let's say, her spouse because of physical abuse, is she eligible for remarriage?
No.
No. She cannot. And so 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 and 11. Look what Paul says here. It says, to the married, I give this charge, not I, but the Lord. So Paul makes it clear that this is not any human opinion. This is from the Lord. The wife should not separate from her husband, but if she does, she should remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. And the husband should not divorce his wife. Now, that word that's used there for separate in verse 10 is a bad translation of that word because that's the same Greek word for divorce. So in other words, the wife should not divorce from her husband, but if she does, she should remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. And so, what's that? Okay. And so in the sense, I have actually counseled, married couples in which come to find out that later on, months later, in the sessions, that she was actually being physically abused. And she came in one day, and I thought it was supposed to be both of them, but she just came in by herself, and she was tore up. Black eye, swollen lip, busted nose, everything. And come to find out, long story short, in a nutshell, before jumping to conclusions, I did, investigate later on, and it was true that he was beating her for a long time. And I told her that you need to get out. Get out of this marriage, divorce him, because would you rather stay in this relationship and die one day, or else stay alive but remain single for the remainder of your life? Which of the two would you rather have?
Well,
What does
I'd rather
common
be
sense say?
alive
What
and
does logic
single.
say? I'd rather be alive and
I'd rather be
single. That's
single.
common sense, and that's
Okay.
that's logic and reason right there. Anybody would, with logic, would agree that I would much rather be alive than stay single for the rest of my life. And
Or
so,
But
if he's
to be-
abusive and have children, you don't want them around. to
absolutely, yes. Now, go ahead.
The sad thing is, a lot of women think, "Oh, he'll change. I will. It's my fault.
Mhm.
I made him angry,"
Yeah,
and hope that he'll change.
Yeah.
He might.
Yeah.
But
be.
yeah.
Not if he's been doing that from the beginning. He won't.
But then
Yeah.
they need somebody wonderful to be great to them and they can't marry them.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I've seen that happen and that's sad.
It is. It's very sad. But now let me ask you this.
Now,
though.
if he dies, though, she can marry him.
There you go. That was my next question. Yes, but what if?
Kill him so he'd be dead.
No. No.
An accidental
Yeah.
death?
Accidental in quotes.
The
Yeah.
letter just fell out.
And so this is why, and again, this goes back to the parents' responsibility. This is why it's important for us parents to teach and to train our kids to marry a Christian man. Not to say that, well, I've known actually, Christian men who end up becoming very physically abusive. I understand that, but logically, it's less likely for that to happen. You'll be in a situation that'll be less likely to happen if you actually marry someone within the Christian faith, within the church. And
But also know that person.
And to know that person, yes.
Because there have been Christian men
Oh, yes.
that believe it to the extent of their wife has to do every single, and not like a
Couple.
marriage in one.
That's right. That's right. And then so getting to know that person is, in fact, very critical and vital. And I mean, had a thought here, but it died of loneliness. There's a lot going on, so I apologize if I have these brain farts.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, so getting to know, marry within the church, getting to know that individual, because I've known a lot of couples that end up getting into those physical abusive relationships because they ran into the relationship too quickly. They got into the relationship way too quickly. And in a sense, you're not trying to condone physical abuse in any relationship, but you also have to have the balance of understanding that, well, you ran into this relationship, you said I do, and so you have to take personal responsibility and accountability. And if you have responsibility and accountability of getting into that relationship to begin with, then you need to take accountability and responsibility of getting out of that relationship before he kills you or she kills you. Because yes, it goes both ways. Yeah, I've seen some couples in relationships and marriages where even the men have actually been getting physically abused. So again, it goes both ways. Just like the lustful temptation of the way women dress, the way guys dress. I mean, same with abusive relationships. Women do it and also men do it. So does that answer your question? Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Well, that's a great question because
Yes.
the thing is, you have to understand that little word "and" of what Jesus says, divorce and remarriage. Because I have actually been accused and berated and what other words I could use? Criticized heavily
Cussed
of being what?
Cussed out.
I'd say cussed out. Maybe not face to face, but they probably did cuss me out behind my back when I'm not around. But from families and even church members, sadly, for being a preacher that is telling somebody to get out of a marriage, to divorce, and they say, well, don't you know that God hates divorce and everything? Well, yes, God hates divorce. Yes, he hates it. I hate divorce too. God explains in the text of Malachi chapter 2, verse 16, of why he hates divorce. And if you look at the context, verses 14, 15, and 16, God says he hates divorce because of what it does, the collateral damage it does to the offspring, to the children. That's why he hates divorce. He hates it because it destroys the lives of the children in the home. They're raised in broken homes now. So yes, God hates divorce. I hate it too. But what Jesus says here is that for divorce and remarriage, I would much rather have somebody stay alive and remain single for the rest of their life than to remain in a marriage where he is being physically abused and could die at any day.
Okay, about that, like you said, being single for the rest of your life. And what happened in that term of your life? Somebody come, girl, and want to marry you, and this guy will not hold you and stuff and everything. What happened in that situation?
Okay, well, so are you asking like,
Now, for example, for me, I'm married, and this woman killed me and stuff, everything, and I'm single.
Okay.
And during my life, some women come in my life and be happy for 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, have kids, and be together, and go to church, and she do not hold me. What happened next after that.
Okay, if I'm understanding you correctly, if you're saying that you're married previously, then divorced,
Yeah.
now if the divorce, if it was not, if the cause was not due to physical adultery,
Yeah, that's what
sleeping
I'm
with another
saying.
man,
Yeah.
then no, you would not be eligible to remarry.
Now, for example, like God said, every term your life you go, I will give you a spouse for you to marry and have kids.
Mm.
For example,
Mm.
now for 5 years, 10 years, I'm single, and that situation, God said, "Oh, I got your wife, a Christian wife,
Mm.
to be with you."
Mm.
And what happened? That situation.
What happens?
Yeah.
Well, again, it all goes back to your previous marriage.
Okay. Yeah.
If your wife or ex-wife had divorced you, and if it wasn't on the grounds of adultery, let's say she just divorced you because she just fell out of love, okay? She just fell out of love, or if it was for like money issues and whatnot, then you would not be allowed to remarry.
No
You have to
matter
stay
how
single.
old you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you made a point of saying, like, well, what if, like, God tells me, like, hey, God, or hey, I have this lady here later on, 10 years in your life, this lady here, and you can marry and have kids and everything. Well, I'd say, show me book, chapter, and verse where God says that.
Yeah. That's
Because what God does say here is that you can only eligible for remarriage is if your previous spouse had committed the sexual act of adultery.
Yeah, and the reason is because that union, when you get married, is between you and the
It's a covenant.
spouse and
That's
God.
right.
Yeah. Together.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you separate, if that's not according to God's laws, in God's eyes, you're still
Married
That
to
other
that
person's
person
mate.
for the
Yep.
rest of your
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
Yes.
so you can't marry someone
Yep.
else.
There's a second
Yes,
part
sir.
that we're ignoring.
Okay. Go back to the.
There in verse 10. No, verse 11. If she does separate from him,
Oh.
she remains unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. There's the possibility. That's why I go with King James. If she departs from him, leaves him because he's beating her up,
Yes.
find safety, get away from him. If he doesn't change, then stay single.
Yes.
Don't remarry. You
That's
can't.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
But hopefully there's reconciliation,
Yes.
or it would be put there.
That's right.
I don't think I'm gonna reconcile somebody.
Well, it's called forgiveness.
Yeah. It is called forgiveness, and also you have to understand we may make a point at that time by saying, like, I'll never be reconciled. I'll never want any man or any woman in my life again. But later on, guess what? You start craving and wanting companionship.
Mhm.
Companionship is something that God has built within us. It is like some device that God has created within us to have a sense of companionship, and that's going to be hard.
Some men can make themselves eunuchs.
Mm,
They can
That's
live alone.
that's right.
And some women have to because nobody wants to marry them. They're
Mhm.
single,
Yeah.
and they adjust. They do the best they can. They make a life for themselves, but
That's right.
they're single.
Yeah.
But I do
Yeah.
feel like when you're put in that situation, a lot of times, because of the companionship you miss, they have intentions of staying single
Yeah.
and never remarrying again. But like you said, sometimes down the road,
Mhm.
and it's hard for a man or a woman
Yep.
sometimes because they miss that companionship.
Yep.
Not to, and people make that mistake and
Yep.
sometimes do it.
Oh yeah.
And down the road, you can't just forget that, hey, I'm falling in love with this woman, but you shouldn't even put yourself in that situation because
That's right.
God's not going to allow you to remarry.
Absolutely. Yes.
But
And
they do.
yeah.
sometimes.
I know they do, but
He's not
Yeah.
the punishment.
you're breaking God's command.
And I'll be honest, I will go ahead and just use myself as an example that from high school all the way up until my my mission work on the reservation. So that's several years. I mean, I was determined that I was just going to stay single. I mean, because I want my freedom. I want my independence, and also seeing all relationships throughout life and experience that my brothers had in high school, friends in college and whatnot, and always ends in disasters, too much drama, did not want to deal with it. And I was dead set of saying, like, I'm with Paul. I will stay single for the rest of my life. The good Lord wills. Well, that did not last too long because staying in a double wide trailer, three bed, 2-bath, double wide trailer got very, very, very lonely after my first 4 or 5 years on the mission work in Kayenta. And sure enough, that's when God knew my heart. I was praying, He knew my heart, and that's when He sent me my angel.
And she came and fluttered her eyes at you and smiled, and you broke.
Yep, I did. I walked into that Burger King, dead set of getting, some apple pies, and I saw her, and she handed me that bag. She gave me that smile and touched my hand and everything, and she handed me the bag. That's how it all started.
They got 3 kids. 3 kids.
Yep.
3 kids later.
Yeah, 3 kids later. Yep.
And then you happy, see?
3 kids and counting.
3 kids. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 kids, but I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna jinx myself by saying, ain't counted yet.
A lot of this divorce business, let's back up a little further down the road,
Okay.
is through parental training. What kind of parents did you have?
I've had parents that were members of the church.
Yeah.
And
What kind of training did you have in your own home? If the parents would be parents today, we wouldn't have near as much as we have today.
Yes.
They're not parents today.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
And so, it just stopped a bunch of all I got to say.
Yeah. That reminds me. I heard it's actually considered like a secular song, but it's called "That's Why I Pray." I think it's by some country band. I can't remember their name now, but there's a line in there that really stuck out to me in that song. It says, "Babies having babies because their parents are not always home. Somehow we have forgotten how to make a house a home."
Yep.
I'm like, wow, how true is that?
They don't wanna take care of
Babies
them.
having babies because their parents are never home.
Not responsible.
Yeah, not
They're
responsible.
not your friend.
That's
Exactly.
right. They're your
Yes.
child.
Yes. Children are not our friend. I mean, we hope they can come to a relationship later on down the road where we can have a little bit of a friendship kind of a relationship. But no, I mean, as part as growing and training and equipping them, you're not their friend. You're their parent. Yes. And so that's another issue we have. I just want to be my child's best friend. Yeah. I just want my child to make their own decisions.
That's
Your child's
Anybody
7.
read the poem that's
I'm
the poem that's entitled "I Have the Meanest Mom in the World"?
That's a good mom.
Yep. That's a good mom then.
That's right.
Yep.
That's a good mom.
I gotta find that poem.
Well, I think we hit the nail on the head with that, and so I guess we will move on to Jesus' next section, the Sermon on the Mount. But if there's not anything else, the bell rang a while ago, so we're dismissed. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. Good stuff.
Thank you.